Hi everyone, I'm back. You might notice that I'm sitting down this time. What I'm going to do today is we're going to do a little bit of mobility just to coincide with Kara's stretching. Alright. The good thing I like about mobility is it's very good to do either before a workout, or if you want you can do a little bit after a workout, although ideally before. Also, the other good thing about it is it can be done on other days, so you don't necessarily have to do it on a workout day. It can range from doing little things with just, let's say for example, just your feet specifically, or you can do a whole heap of stuff. So we can, like today, we're going to do a bit more of a whole body taste introduction today. Later on I want to do some more specific ones, so like a real good lower body one and an upper body one, okay? So we'll get into that now. Right. Now with the towel one, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to physically almost pretend like we're being a monkey. So we're going to pop the towel on the ground, like so. Now I'm just going to do it with one foot. Now see how we go on this, because I haven't tested on this surface. But ideally what you want to do is imagine that you're trying to roll up or scrunch up or pull that towel up using your toes. Same way as if you grab something with your hands, but we're going to do it with our toes. Right? Very good for ankle mobility, and also very good for the feet in general, okay? Because ideally we want our feet to be grabbing as much as possible, okay? So we want to almost encourage like the arch to happen a little bit in our feet. So what we're going to do is grab and then drag it back a little bit. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm trying to scrunch and pull that towel back with it, okay? And then I'm dragging it back in. Cool. Now, and that's pretty much it. Then bring it back out again, or if you want, grab with your toes and just sort of drag out as much as you can. And what you're trying to do is literally drag it in with the toes and try and really get your toes in there to scrunch up and drag a little bit in with it. So your toes are doing the grabbing, okay? Another way of doing this, or if you want, I think, so I've done it a couple of times, is you've had a shower, drop the towel, or you need to pick up the towel, grab it with your feet, bring it up. Sometimes that helps as well, because what you're trying to encourage is the use of your toes to grip on and back up and down again. All right? Now, if you're going to do two together, you can do that, but just make sure you've got enough towel. Like, don't put it on and then find out you haven't got enough towel to do it. Okay, so you can do it that way as well. All right, or you can do one at a time, or you can do zigzag. So one, then the other, then the other, then the other, and then you slowly drag it back. Make sure you've got a good purchase, and doing that for roughly 2 minutes. Now, if you find that you've got issues with your feet and everything like that, okay, fine. You may not be able to do the constant drag, but if there's a way that you can grab with the towel, do that, okay? See, as you can see, the grip loses, but the idea is to encourage you grabbing. So if you have to, move it around and just get your toes in there, and then make sure you've got the purchase, and then bring it up. That's another way of practicing it. If you don't want to use a towel, you can't use a towel, what we can do is, imagine you're trying to grip to the floor. So you're taking your hands, also your feet, like your hands in, trying to grip the floor. So you grip yourself down, and you'll find that as you play around with that, you might need to find a better position to do so. But as you do it, you should feel your feet come up in almost an arch. Not too much, but just enough, and then relax. Squeeze, tension, and relax. That's another way of doing it as well, okay? Very good for ankle mobility, very good for your feet as well, okay? A lot of issues, or a lot of time, very commonly, a few problems can arise from people, say knees, hips, back. A lot of it can also be tailed back to the feet, because if your ankle is out of whack, what happens is it then brings your knees out of whack, which then changes your hip, which then changes another body part, which has to take over, okay? We don't have an engine light, so it doesn't flash on and go, I have a problem in my knee, we need to fix it. Or I have a problem in my foot, we need to have a look at addressing it. Our body is designed to keep moving. So it goes, I've got a problem in the foot, but what I'll do is I'll get my knee to do something else differently, and I'll get the hip to do something, and that way I can still keep walking. So what we're trying to do here is just get everything to activate again, or we'll say waking up some muscles again that go, oh, hang on, I'm meant to be doing something here. And this is one good way to start. Now, what we're going to do with this is very simple. Again, something you can do at work, something you can do at home. I don't stress again about doing it excessively. Again, at least 2 minutes, but you don't have to sit there for 10 minutes, because even after a while, actually doing this too much can be a little bit, going backwards, okay? So everything within reason. What we're going to do with this ball is we literally place it on the ground. Now, I do this one at a time. Don't do two balls with 2 feet, okay? It's probably a bit dangerous to do it that way. Plus, you want to be able to use your weight in order to sort of create more pressure or ease off, all right? And this is good for this one. Like to say I'm going to do this foot, this one will be here just to help me stabilize as well. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the ball to roll. I'll just do a side view here, you can see, in the middle of the foot. Okay, you can use the whole foot, all right, even the heel. I would also recommend a little bit of the heel, but just for the moment we're going to roll in here, so in the plantar fascia. Very commonly with a lot of people who might have plantar fasciitis. What we're going to do here is literally have the ball sit in a position that we find we can sort of keep it stable, but we're now going to use our body weight or even the ball, especially if you're really sensitive, you'll probably feel it straight away. But from there, we're going to sort of find a little spot, and then if we want to, which was I'm going to do, I'm just going to lean forward on a little bit so I create more pressure in that spot. And I'm just going to let the ball create like a pressure massage in that area, okay? Now, only go as much as you can handle, okay? And don't be constantly on this pressure for 2 minutes. So like press for a little bit, and then back off a little bit and sort of roll it out a little bit, okay? And then when you're ready, put a little bit more pressure, hold for a few seconds, and then release it off, okay? So don't sit on this for 2 minutes, because one, it can get pretty uncomfortable for such a long time. But the idea of it is we're sort of creating the pressure and the massage in order to try and get that muscle to open up a bit more. The way I sort of describe the plantar fasciitis or the plantar fascia when you're sort of trying to move this out, it's almost like, well, this is how I describe it, is that with your feet, it's almost like the muscle, you know, tightens up, so it's almost like your feet are curling inwards. So what we want to try and do is open up a bit more, so we're aiding in that gripping of the foot again, mobility of the feet as well, okay, when we sort of walk on the ground. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm just moving back and forth, or you can move in a slight circle, whichever you prefer. If you want, you can roll a little bit onto your heels, but just make sure, as you can see, you don't want to sort of throw out like that. If not, just stay in this area and just move around. Now again, if you find a really tight spot, again, it's that leaning in, bit of pressure, and then back off again. Now, the other thing you can do is as you give yourself some pressure, try and curl your toes up and down while you're holding that spot a little bit as well. Do a couple of squeeze in and out of the toes, relax it off, and then go again. Pressure, squeeze in, squeeze out. This also helps out as well. It's almost like you press down on the muscle itself. So if I want to use my arm as an example, just say muscle there, pressing down, I then move within the range of what the muscles are meant to do or help out in, and then release. So we're sort of again trying to aid in getting to do things in what they're actually designed to do, okay? So it's not that everything turns off and suddenly your feet are going to collapse and you're going to fall over. It's not that. It's just that we want, remember, well, when you think about how often do you spend standing on your feet? You know, a lot, all right? So when you're walking around everything, anything like this to help ease off that pressure or at least ease off the tension will help out. The other groovy thing that you can do if you want, and you can do that, you have the time to do it, is after you do some of the mobility stuff I've shown you today specifically on their feet, you can give them a foot soak, all right? So the old foot tub, hot water, Epsom salts, give them a soak. That also helps out as well. Because from the magnesium in Epsom salts and stuff gets absorbed through the skin. Okay, not exactly deep into the muscles, but it's just a good way of help relaxing your feet. And well, who wouldn't enjoy that anyway? So at least 2 minutes, probably no more than 5 minutes, I would say, especially on this either side. When you've done the timer, you simply switch to the other foot. Okay, I've got myself my band. Okay, it's one of those like little loop bands. If you don't have that and you have those other ones, as long as you can create a bit of a wrap around the foot, that's okay. Just make sure it's not too tight, okay? The idea of this is actually not to have it really, really tight because we're only moving in a very small range, all right? Now what I'm gonna do here with the band, I'm just gonna pop it onto my feet, like so, all right? Now, again, you might need to sort of waddle in and out just to find the best position possible for you. But what we're gonna do from here is, now you can do this 2 feet together or you can do 1 foot at a time, it's up to you, okay? What this is we want to externally rotate or basically turn our toes outwards when we do this exercise. But what we want to ideally do is not exactly completely lift the foot off, okay? So what I'm saying is we don't want to lift up and then try and turn out because we don't want to encourage the legs and the hips to do this exercise, okay? So what we're going to do here is, if I'm using both feet, I'm going to slightly raise up the toes, as you can see, and then I'm going to literally, out I go, turn myself out a little bit, trying to do it with the feet, and then back in again. Okay, try not to use the knees or anything like that. Literally the feet themselves, and then back down and relax. Now, you can see very minimal movement. It's not a lot. So we lift up, we turn out, and then come back in again. Okay. The best way I can describe it is almost imagine that your feet kind of feel like they're doing this kind of motion, okay, as you turn them out. But like I said, it doesn't need to be you try and turn your feet out like this, all right? If you start doing that, what will happen is other stuff kicks in, all right? That's not what we're after. Literally just the feet, turn them out. You can hold for a second or two, and then back in again. Some people might find the calves and everything kick in a little bit, okay? What I would suggest there is work on the idea of trying to minimize as much calf interference as you can, and then back down again. So it might mean to start with, you don't really move a lot outwards. You're not going to get a burn in the ankles or anything like that, so don't worry about that. It's not like you're going to go to the point where you're going to go, oh my God, my ankle. It's not going to be like that. It's just to promote that external use of the foot, okay? And then back down again. Now, if you want to do it one at a time, simply one foot lifts up, turn out, back down, go to the other side. This might be handy for the first time you're doing this, because what you want to do is concentrate on one foot at a time, get that external rotation happening, and then bit by bit as you advance, you can then do both feet. Because it's easy to sort of try and go, okay, I'm going to do both, and you're like, oh, I think I'm doing it right. Just do one at a time and just feel where you're going with your foot each time. So we're going to use this now. So to start with, feet go on, find myself into, now this is too far, so I'm just going to work myself a bit closer into that feeling of 90 degrees, okay? And as you can see, I'm trying to get as much of 90 degrees as possible, all right? Now from there, hand on legs, hand underneath this leg, and then as I begin to push or pull my right leg up, I push with my right hand down, and then I bring it back with my left leg. So what I'm trying to do is fight both sides, okay? It can be a little bit challenging. Hold for a few seconds and then relax, okay? Then again, hand, pulling up, pressing back, but then resist those two. So ideally, what you want to do is enough that you can feel you're trying to keep your knees as even as possible, all right? And then relax. And then we're going to change to the other side. So hand, this time it goes here, this hand goes on this leg, on the left leg, do the opposite. So I lift with my left now, and I push back with my right, and then I resist both. So I'm doing like so, only for a few seconds, and then relax, okay? If you have some tight areas like tight reflexes and stuff, you may find that this kicks in a bit. When that happens, just relax, deep breath, and then go again, and then try and do it for a little bit until that sort of cramping occurs, and then relax, okay? Now, when you do this, you can do it over the 2 minutes in total, but you don't have to be constantly doing it for 2 minutes. So just say you do a couple of repetitions like this, okay? Wait a few seconds, just let everything settle, or if you want, just completely relax your legs, because you might find having it in that upright 90-degree position sort of really encourages the hip flexors to fire. So do that for a bit, and then what you do is just reset and realign again, and just again use that furniture to help out with that 90 degrees, and then set up again. All right, so lifting up, push, pull, and then back down. Like I said, the idea is keep it where you're trying to keep your knees as even as possible through falls. Okay, we're going to use the roller now, all right, to help out with the back. All right. The two exercises we're going to do today is going to be the lat area and the thoracic. All right. So what we're going to do from here is lie at the roller like so, and what we want to try and get in there is, if you feel, one way to describe it, the best way to sort of use is where your armpit is roughly. Go back a little bit until you feel like a bit more fleshy or meaty parts there. Okay, that's where we want to roughly place our part of this body onto the roller. All right, and we're basically going to stretch ourselves across. You're going to use your feet as a means of grounding and help yourself massage, all right, or move across. So what I'm going to do, lay myself down on my side, so we're going to do one side at a time, and then from there I'm going to sort of find the spot. Now, you might find, that you might lean forward, some people might lean a little bit back. However, if you go too far back, okay, it's not the end of the world, it's just that ideally you're going to start getting more into the shoulder blade and everything like that. We're not exactly after that with this exercise today. However, you could do it a little bit later if you want. That's totally cool. So arm goes across. You don't have to really emphasize that stretch across, as long as you can feel that you've got that little fleshy, like the meaty part of your back there. All right. Now from here, you can use your feet to guide yourself up and down if you want to do that. That's totally okay. You'll find that one leg needs to sort of push you up a little bit as you move back and forth like that. Or if you find one particular spot and say it's really tender, you could just sit yourself there. Okay. And then from here, what you can do is just hold it, or you can use the breathing exercise that we've done before. Okay, so breathing into the belly. And then from there, now with this one, you won't be able to squeeze per se, but if you can give yourself a little force, like maybe push into it a little bit, and then relax. And if you can, feel if you're sort of slowly melting into the roller a little bit, so you can feel that pressure really ease off, like try and relax in that area. Now, like I said, 2 minutes at least per muscle area or per side, all right? Now, if you find that one area is really, really tense, okay, what I'd suggest is do it for a little bit, then back off and, release it or find somewhere else. Or what you could do is just completely move yourself away from it for a few seconds. This might be a good time to stretch, okay? Do some stretch exercises in the lats and so forth if you need to do that, and then return yourself back down to find your spot, and then again work through that. Now, if you were using the ball, you'd simply do the same thing and just use the ball to find that area. Bear in mind, if you are doing that, you're going to be a lot lower to the ground, all right? So just work that out. If you've got shoulder injuries and things like that you can't sort of support your weight too much, so I would suggest do what you can manage, because you don't necessarily need to put a lot of pressure through the shoulder to hold yourself up. It's mostly in your feet, all right? And then from there, just move back and forth. Now, if you find that the moving is too much, like I said, stay still. That's all good as well, all right? Now, if you find that you can't do that and you can't do it one at a time, the other option is, and this is going to be similar to the thoracic exercise I'm going to show you in a moment, give yourself a hug, rest yourself on the roller, and then from there, what you can do is just find a spot, okay, that you can sort of balance yourself on there, keeping your glutes to the ground. We don't want to lift the bum up too much, keeping it down, and then what you can do is just turn side to side, and that helps out a little bit as well, because you might find that there's some tense areas through there that really work through there. Now, if you want, you can work yourself down a little bit and do that. All right. So that's another way you can do it. And the other one is, if you want to do a little bit more of the mid to the lower part of your back, all right, set up the same. Now, some people might just find that they do this. They sit like this and just hold themselves there for a bit. Every now and then just drop themselves back. Again, the key thing is keep your glutes to the ground, okay? You don't lift up and then tip yourself over, all right? We're not exactly after that. Because keep in mind that our spine isn't exactly like a ruler, all right? So, now if you're going to do this, hug yourself or cross over like so, and then from there, just lean back slightly and then back up again. Some people might find that you can lift your hips a bit if you're going to sort of go back and forth. So lift yourself up and you can sort of run up and down like that a little bit, okay? Again, just make sure you're balanced, all right? And don't do it ferociously, nice and easy. And then once you sort of find a little spot, just sit there and work through it, okay? So that's another way you can sort of help out with the back as well. If you find that you hear little pops or cracks, don't panic, okay? Because sometimes it could be just a little air pocket that builds up, or it could be just the fact that you're releasing a tight area, so the spine's like, oh, you can move around a bit more now. So we're going to go into the other exercise, which is the thoracic mobility one. I like doing this one. Again, what we're going to do with it is we're going to use it as a means to help out with a lot of people who do a lot of desk work or everyday life. We're all still doing it anyway, that whole rolling forward. You'll find that a good area, just to give you a rough guide, is the thoracic will go from a spine point of view, from I suppose the tip of your shoulders or up here, and they'll go down to a line that goes across the back where your shoulder blades end, or the tip of the end of the shoulder blades, okay, roughly around about there. Now, when we go through that, what will happen is when we do the exercise, just to note, our spine is not completely straight, it's more in a S curve. When we do this exercise, your spine roughly sits like that, ideally, okay? A very slight curvature. Now, when we do it, we're not aiming to create a situation where our spine is, completely straight or coming back like that, okay, when it just won't happen. But what we want to encourage, even that, in a person is still aiding in mobility, okay? So that's what we're after. It's very minimal again, okay? It's not a huge movement. So when we do this, what I see a lot of people commonly do is it's almost like they're trying to wrap themselves over the roller or whatever apparatus they're using. We're not entirely after that, okay? We just want it to be that we can slightly lift up our chest. The feeling should be raising up the chest or puffing up the chest. If you try and sit there for a second and then puff your chest up, so you're trying to lift that chest up, that is literally the majority of the movement we're after. We're just trying to do it on the ground using a pin, basically, or a big rolling pin. Like before, when we did the lats, we're going to sit up in a similar way, so we're just going to have our knees bent because we're going to use the feet to sort of roll over and hold ourselves there. So what I'll do from here is have the roller, set it up where you want the roller to come across the back of the shoulder blades. One thing that I want to encourage here is with your arms, imagine you're trying to really hug yourself, okay? So what you're doing is trying to get the shoulder blades to open up like that, all right, that feeling. Now again, it's not going to be huge, okay? So don't expect to be like that, okay? But you want to imagine that you're trying to hug yourself as much as you can, all right? Now the way I like to do it is I like to sort of lie myself down first, set up, give myself a hug, and then get in the position. Now, with the feet, just as long as you stay stable, all right? And with your glutes or your hips, what I want you to try and do is keep them to the ground as much as you can. Then from there, imagine that feeling of puffing the chest up. So we lift our chest, and then we return back again. So as you can see, it's not huge, it's not a massive movement. We lift the chest up, and then we come back down. Again, trying to keep the hips. We don't want to have a situation where we lift the hips up from it, okay? It's not the end of the world if you do, but ideally, we're trying to just really focus on that thoracic area. So lift the chest up and back down again. And then what you can do is you can just do it back and forth. If you want to do it that way, that's fine. Or you can lift it up for a few seconds, keep yourself there, and then back down again, okay? The main thing is what you're trying to do is encourage movement. Don't roll down to the point where you're starting to feel like you're getting really, really close to your neck. We're not after that. And don't bring yourself up too high here, okay? Because that's not what we're totally after. It's more just where the shoulder blades sort of begin and end, okay? And then from there, we're just lifting the chest and then back down again, okay? Nice and easy, and then back down while maintaining the glutes to the ground, all right? Now, that's pretty much it with that movement, all right? Now, if you find that that's a real struggle for you, like I said, even if you just sort of find the spot with the roller or whatever you're using, hold your arms and even just try and sort of sink yourself a little bit into it, that's okay. If not, even just sitting here, you might find bit by bit to start with it's a bit weird, but then as you sort of get used to it, your body will sort of adjust a little bit as well. So you can do that also. If you find your neck is really, really kicking in, two things you can do if you want to cheat it: get your tongue to the roof of your mouth, activates more muscles within the neck to stabilize. Or the other option is that you might sort of roll yourself back up for a few seconds, let yourself relax it down, and then come back down again, okay? Hopefully those exercises help you out today everyone. With those ones, there's some whole body work, okay? I think that they're pretty some key ones to do. Once you sort of master them or practice them over and over again and then become master of them, you'll find you can do them really quickly. The frequency of them, I would say as per needed. So if you find that, hey, you work at the desk a lot, I would suggest certainly doing a lot of that thoracic stuff in your back. You might want to do that every second day or every third day to begin with. Eventually you might find it as a daily thing that you do, okay? That's entirely fine. However, the other stuff, like say for example, the foot mobility and everything we did today is brand new for you. You might find, just say you do it today, for example, you might find tomorrow is a bit stiff and sore in the feet because you haven't exactly released something like that before. Don't panic, it's not like you've broken anything unless you've done something really outrageous. It's just that, again, it's like anything, you haven't done it before, the body's like, what are you doing to me? This is different. And it goes through the DOMs, or it goes through some moments where it's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm really freed up now and I'm being really stiff and sore. So what I suggest is if it's brand new to you, do it for one day, give yourself a day's rest or 2 days rest, and then go back to it gently again. Anyway, for now, take care.